I'm the Batman. 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 Lights Thunder Action will be right on after this rendition of the Batman theme a cappella. I'm the Batman. I'm the Batman. I'm the Batman. Episode 77 of Lights Thunder Action is here as we review the Batman and celebrate big news for your favorite co-hosts coming up right after the jump. Good afternoon, fellow human nerds. It is Saturday, March 5th, 2022. Welcome to episode 77 of Lights Thunder Action, where every week two Thunder buddies. I should probably stop saying every week. It's been a while since we did it on a weekly basis.
That's true.
But where two Thunder buddies discuss all things Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and the latest happenings in the entertainment industry. I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
I'm David Thompson, and coming up on today's show, a couple of exciting announcements and The Batman, which is a movie that me and Thomas, I think, have had on our calendars for a long time. Something we discussed on this podcast ad nauseum months ago, and it's finally among us, and we're finally going to dive into a full spoiler, just run it down, just get into it. That 3-hour it's a lot. There's a lot to unpack in the Batman, and it's a movie I really enjoyed, and I cannot wait to dive into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been on our calendar. Actually, David, I'm pretty certain the last episode you and I were on together was episode 68 of Lights Thunder Action. So that's a long time ago. And the very first thing when I copied over the show notes was the Batman's new footage. So the last time we've talked, I believe, on this podcast was about the new footage of the Batman. And now, David, guess what? There's so much more footage. There's
there's a lot more footage.
I cannot wait to dive fully into this. But, you know, before we get into all that, we are live beaming directly into your homes and phones via our Lights Thunder Action Facebook and the HWWS WebTV channel on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links can be found at Linktr.com/LightsThunderAction. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow those accounts to view the live version of our show where you can interact with us. But if you do not want to look at our ugly mugs, but want to hear our beautiful, sultry voice tones, David, where can everyone find the audio version of our podcast?
Yeah, of course. You guys can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You can really find us anywhere. And while you're there, like, subscribe, leave a review, 5-star it up. There's a lot of options here at Lights Thunder Action for how you can, take in this media. It can be here live. It can be through video later. It can be through audio after. So yeah, subscribe wherever you get your audio podcasts. Lights Thunder Action will probably be there, and leave a kind review if you please. You're muted, Thomas.
Absolutely. We thank you for your support and your patience. We really appreciate all of you. And we've been absent. We were every week for almost a year and a half, over a year and a half.
I was going to say it was definitely over a year.
And so, David, it's been a while. Let's catch everybody up to what you've been up to in life. I'm sorry, Coach David Thompson.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of like to fill everyone in, like those of you that have been wondering, maybe where I am or what's happened to the show, just because it's kind of like we just, it's been on a bit of a hiatus, especially just like what it normally was over the past, like, when it started really in March 2020. Which is crazy to think that it's almost been 2 years. Shit, that's insane to think.
I know,
it's almost
man.
been 2 years since we started this whole thing in quarantine. And yeah, lots happened. The first thing like we want to say, I think starting off like this podcast is like this show is not over by any means. And I will be back. Maybe not as it currently is right now, but it's not that I'm like completely just gone and you guys can't contact me. But yeah, lots happens. I got a full-time job teaching, which I love, and I coach basketball. And the one thing about that job that I've found is that I just have a lot less time for everything else than what I was doing before when me and Thomas were staying so consistent. And that's the thing too. Like, it's something I've really missed. Like, the season's now over. I'm not coaching it right now. And I was even telling my now fiance, Jasmine.
They're just merely
new. That's
dating
new
when we
since the
started
last
this.
time I was here. My fiance, I was telling her how like just I've been writing a little bit more. I just wrote a new article recently, a feature for the direct.com, kind of about the future of movies and Spider-Man No Way Home and all that good stuff. And I was telling her how it's actually been really good on my mental health because it was getting a little draining, even though I loved what I was doing, going from with kids all day to then with kids playing basketball all night. Not a lot of sleep, trying to just see her and keep that relationship going well and everything else. And kind of getting back into things like this has been huge for me. And it's just crazy. I mean, I still can't believe that we almost started this 2 years ago. It doesn't even, in a way, that doesn't feel that long, but it kind of shows, just kind of being retrospective here a little bit, like how, and it makes me sad kind of talking about it, thinking about it a little, is like, we got like Thomas, especially me as well. Obviously, it was like our thing. Like, we got this to like such a fun place. I feel like of these live shows every week. We had fun guests on, crazy discussions. The comments were blowing up. We and like when we made the decision to go live, just soon after we started this whole thing, that was like such a fun decision that we always have kept with, and it's been such like a I think makes the show a little more fun that way, like a little more laid back and kind of trying to interact with the fans and trying to interact with all of you like audience members watching and just people in the comments. And I take a lot of pride, and it's sad how everything's kind of gone in that sense where like I literally had no time. There was no way from where we were at going every week talking about the news, having a point of discussion, and even if there wasn't like a show happening, having a big topic of discussion to discuss for a couple of hours with you guys, just to have that conversation and have some fun. It's really cool where this show was like, and it makes me sad in a way because obviously like that day has come and gone in some sense, especially at least like with me, just how like my life's gone and the decisions I've made and how getting a job has changed everything, or a different job, I should say. But I will say one thing, and that can kind of lead into a little bit more, is kind of like I take a lot of pride in what's been built here and kind of like the audience we grew and the fun we've had, and being able to go to MegaCon and have that panel. That was a really cool experience. Like just and actually having people, like just having anyone show up to that was really cool for me. I feel like one thing me and Thomas have always had in common is just like if we're having fun, like that's all that really matters in a lot of ways, and everything else will like kind of follow suit. Especially with this show, it's called LightsThunderAction. Like it just sounds fun to begin with. There's something just kind of like I don't know. It's fluid. It's moving. It's action. Literally, you know, like it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to have a little chaos to it. And then me reeling back in Thomas's chaos a little bit sometimes.
Only sometimes.
But yeah, I just wanted to say to everyone, to Thomas, like I just take so much pride, especially like looking back onto where the show was, how like we became this like well-oiled machine. I feel like, you know, me and Thomas met years ago. I don't even know how many years ago now. 3, 4, or whatever.
Your freshman year.
Yeah, my freshman year. So yeah, like it'll be 5 years in the fall. And you know, me and Thomas, we bonded over talking about these topics, all these nerdy conversations, and the latest in Marvel and DC and Star Wars and everything. And it's cool. It's really cool. Really kind of being retrospective here, thinking about how my freelancing job with the direct.com has kind of brought Thomas so much more as well, I think, with like the friends we have over there now. Just having those connections and those constant like nerdy conversations, which we always had with each other, just in person at work, and how it's become this whole, you know, in 2022, you can do whatever you want, really, in the sense that you can go on the internet and make a show and talk about these things whenever you please. And people may watch it, people may not, but you can go out and do those things. And that's what we did for over a year and a half. And the fact that it's going to be almost 2 years is unbelievable to me. It's crazy. That's kind of blowing my mind, having that realization. And I just want to say, Thomas, this show just couldn't have been what it was without you, and what it will be too. Like that's the thing too that makes me happy about all what's happening here, is that I feel like this show in a lot of ways is your kind of like baby, because for you this is I feel like this was your like first like podcast that like you like created, right? And like, because I had experiences with like in college and stuff, and I've been tinkering with podcasts and stuff for years, and doing different shit with different people and all this. And I feel like for you, this was like such your groove. I feel like conversations, dive into it, get questions from the fans, have these long-winded conversations that really dive into this shit, not something quick, not something that you like brush over. It's something you really and think about and throw your emotions into and just have fun with. And I'm just really excited for the future, and I'm really excited and I take pride, I guess, I take a lot of pride in what we've built here, the community, and also, I don't know. I think just like the special sauce that this show is, I feel like there's something to it, that will keep living on. And I'm very, very excited for the future. Thomas, that's my long-winded soliloquy.
That was beautiful, man. You covered a lot, and I'm sure people listening who aren't as just in on the know are kind of wondering, just like our friend Willow Schuyler here in the comments is saying, you can't just quit. I love this show. Let me assuage some fears.
Yeah.
The show will continue. The show will live on. Lights, Thunder, Action, like all things, must evolve. I'm trying really hard not to sing Evolution's wrestling theme song. Evolution is a mystery. But we're gonna evolve and we're gonna change. David's time is just, as you can tell, he's a very busy coach, regular human man coach. So damn, I wish David got that reference. One day you'll watch What We Do in the Shadows. But we're going to go from, David Thompson and Thomas Carter Rochester with LightsThunderAction. He's going to step off, and we're going to announce what he's about to be doing in just a moment, because we are super ready. But LightsThunderAction will be bringing in a former friend of the show, now co-host with myself, and that is John Ross Bradford. Did I say that right? I feel like I slurred and thought of 5 words. Okay, that's good.
JRB, baby.
JRB, because it's going to be LTA with JRB and TCR. Like, look at all these.
That's good.
Right? I thought about that. I was like, we could just go by our initials then. Like, we could just be Initial Life. But we're going to keep diving in. And if you want to know what John Ross is all about, he was on a few different episodes. I'm going to try and look it up throughout this episode and drop them in the comments, the episode count. I know our Spider-Man No Way Home audio specials, which we did only for the audio audience. He was on that, so you can hear him talk on there. And I think you'll really recognize why he and I instantly vibe. He likes those deep topics, and he's going to bring in realistic, science at times to try and correlate it. And I'm like, yeah. And then there's me, who's going to do all that, but then he's going to bring in a dragon for no reason. And that's how we got Shang-Chi. So LightsThunderAction will continue on, and you can still hear David and myself talking together on the Reckless Rebellion podcast, a podcast about only Star Wars, because I thought we'd keep a short podcast when it's only Star Wars, but I'm still pushing it 2.5 hours every week because damn, I love Star Wars.
And part of that too, and kind of jumping in a little bit, like part of Reckless Rebellion, go, subscribe on that. That's an audio podcast. You guys can go check out, all about Star Wars, with our buddies Klein Felt and Jack Puce. We've had a ton of guests on there. I haven't even, like, as someone who's like supposed to be one of the co-hosts of that, like, I haven't even been on there most times. And that's how the Rebellion kind of works. Like it's kind of whatever man steps up. And then Thomas and Klein kind of like anchor us down on that show. But which makes sense if you know the personalities. But anyway, and with John Ross joining, like, those of you that have been watching us and listening maybe later to this podcast, John Ross has, like, go back, you can Google it or YouTube, like, John Ross on LightsThunderAction. Like, he is one of my favorite guests, no lie. Like, and meaning not just from like an interview point of view, but like someone who just like naturally flows into our conversations. And I do believe, like, with LightsThunderAction, with this show, like, he's a perfect addition, and someone who can play off of Thomas like beautifully, because, and that's the thing too. I want to kind of get clear, he's not a me replacement. He's his own thing. Okay. Like, he's not, if you think like the show is going to be like, it's not going to be how you guys may know it as just us two. Like, it's me and Thomas have a different relationship, obviously, and a different kind of like back and forth, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be any worse or any better necessarily. I think it could be better, because John Ross, he's great at this thing. And I think he, at least from, what I've seen, he hasn't had his own like show or anything. He's been on the Direct podcast, I believe. He's been on LightsThunderAction. He's done this and that. He's really freaking smart. Yeah. He's really smart about all of this stuff. He's a writer, he's an editor over at the Direct.com. He's phenomenal at his job there, and he has such great insights and such great personality to, like, in this kind of thing, and says it like it is. Always has his opinion kind of like straight in his head, which even I struggle with sometimes. I can kind of be like, I don't know. Like, he always comes with something, which I think is really exciting. And I know Thomas obviously is super excited for him to join.
Very much so. I'm very excited because he's also, David and I, we just pump each other up, and he's got to be the one usually to be like, listen, we need to pump the brakes and ground for 5 minutes, because that's insane, Thomas. JRB is going to do kind of the same thing, but he's also way more grounded in his theories, that every time he's put something together, I go, son of a bitch, that works. Yeah, that works really well. So it's not going to be better. It's not going to be worse. It's going to be same, but different, I think, as the best way to describe it. LTA 2.0. It's not really 2.0. It's just the next evolution, I guess 3.0 as we. Okay, hold on really quick. This is episode 77, and I love numbers. 77 was my football number. 77 is one of my favorite numbers. When you take 7 times 7, you also get 49. My initiation number for my fraternity was 749, which 7, if you throw a square root sign in there, will be not a square root. If you throw in, division of there, you obviously get 7 and then a 49. So you get 7 and then another couple 7s if you break it down right. So math is great. The fact that we're almost 2 years into LightsThunderAction on episode 77, and it's the end of an era. It's poetic, especially when the Batman also takes place, like about 2 years. So we're kind of in that same niche vibe right now as the Batman. So it's going to be a lot of fun having this episode. But David, I'm very, very, very excited to for you to tell the world about what you're going to do next.
Yeah. So I think in a lot of ways, you know, I'm not trying to make this about me or anything. But I've kind of buried the lead a little bit, at least for like what's going on. You know, obviously like the changes are going to be made here. And one thing, like just kind of leading up to what's happening is with this evolution with LightsThunderAction, for us and for me and for Thomas, like this show is like this weekly, at least like how I see it and how like we have seen it. It's this weekly talk show where we come on here and we have fun and you hop in the comments, and that's like the main like gist of the show, at least for us, like where we get the most joy and the most like fun and have the most interaction. And we talk about these things. We talk about what the news every week. We break down what's happening right now, about pretty much, you know, everything happening in film. Okay. And things can change in that too, as time goes on. But like what it had been and what it has been is just like us talking about all these nerdy conversations, all this nerd news, about DC and Star Wars and Marvel and all this. And for me, like obviously what I've found, and what's kind of happened is that, you know, I didn't have time. Like there wasn't any place for that anymore in my life. There was no time, unfortunately, for that. And like, by the way, too, everyone, you know, it's not, we don't just roll up to these shows completely, you know, unprepared. You know, me and Thomas would be talking all week, every day about like what we're going to talk about. Oh my God, this, what should we maybe cut from the news? What should we keep? What should our main topic be? Let's have a discussion about that. This, you know, that we put a lot into this. And one thing that I found that I think I personally wanted to change about, because I've obviously had like my own personal hiatus from any of this stuff. I didn't write basically for months, a little here and there, which is like a huge, like for you guys, like that's a huge part of my life. It's always been, you know, writing, especially now for the direct, you know, freelancing, and which I enjoy so much. And then obviously doing this show, doing any kind of just being on a podcast, basically just being on here, talking with people, you know, throwing out ideas and thoughts. And one thing that I have really, really, really kind of gotten attracted to, and that I find myself even professionally just in my writing and beyond at the direct, I've kind of become the like box office guy, which I'll be honest, like I would have to maybe talk to everyone over there. Like I almost forget how that even happened. Maybe I just kind of, I don't know. I honestly like, because I always have liked the box office and movie business and cared so much about it. And I don't even know how I became the guy, but I am over there like for that kind, for the box office, which is great. I love that. Like it's cool. Like people, you know, get that. They understand. They like that. They like have that in their back of their head. Like, oh yeah, David, he does like the box office stuff. Cool. Like he's, I just care about it. And I really don't know the nexus, like the origins of how that even became a thing, but it is. And it's something that I've become really, really like more and more into actually over time. Maybe even because of that, like it's what I like writing about the most, even less than like just normal movie news, almost like the actual stories and things. I think like the movie business side of Hollywood and like, and especially like in our, I guess realm of like nerdy pop culture movies, superheroes. I think it's all very fascinating and something I like to read about and write about. And with that being said, LightsThunderAction probably wasn't going to be really the place for me breaking down all of what I was saying earlier with what it takes and live shows. And thinking about it being live too is I'm responsible for being here at a certain time. Even today we had to delay it, right? Like it's every, you know, like there's a responsibility, like we hold each other accountable. There's an accountability with my partner, like with Thomas all this time. And that's the thing that I've just had to look in the mirror and be like, I can't do that anymore for the most part. You know, like my life right now, growing up, getting this job, having a fiance and all these things, it's led me to a different spot. And with that being said, with my love for the box office and movie business, and with these new time restraints, I'm very happy to announce a new show that is coming soon. Okay. This is going to be an audio podcast hosted by me, David Thompson. It is going to be called Cinema Spending. Okay. This is the logo. It is done by the direct's Matt Rimke. So shout out to Matt. He did a phenomenal job. I couldn't be happier with how that looks. It's going to be a show hosted by me. I will have guests on from time to time, hopefully have interviews. And it's going to be focused on movie business and the box office and all that good stuff that I think, at least I hope, people might be more interested in listening to, in something that I don't think there's much of in the space that I'm really excited about, because it's something that I have a passion for. And I know others out there do. Even hearing from some people that have listened to the direct podcast when I go on there to talk about the box office, had some listeners that have reached out or said a comment under one of the episodes saying like, oh, I love like when David comes on and talks about this. So that to me gives me a little bit of confidence, like maybe I can actually do this. And the beauty of it is I'm responsible for myself. And that's kind of that's honestly maybe the biggest thing. Like I'm super passionate about, I'm working hard to actually get this off the ground. It's coming soon, by the way. You can't start searching on Apple Podcasts yet, but it will be very, very soon. Like really soon. I'm working hard at that when I can. But with all that being said, like kind of one of the bigger things besides me wanting to do this new venture and this new exciting show that's kind of my expertise, I guess, in a lot of ways, that I think I can really excel at. I'm responsible for myself, and there will be times where, you know, because it's just me, I can be, say next winter, if I'm coaching again, which I probably will be, like, well, I will be back in a couple months because there probably won't be a way for me to do that. Maybe I'll be able to time manage because it is just me and it's going to be a shorter show. It'll be a little bit different. Obviously, maybe I can keep it up in a little ways, but we'll see how it goes, right? I'm trying this out. As you guys can probably tell just by me going on and on right now, this is something I've missed and something that I like really crave and want to do and get creative just because it helps me just live my life. And like we've said with this show a million times, you know, it's all about just us having fun and our listeners having fun and hopefully learning something and getting something out of the show, which is exactly what I'm trying to do at Cinema Spending from a different angle, right? That's something I'm really going to try to do is hopefully every time someone leaves the podcast, they're not going to be very long. They learn something, you know, that's something they're like, oh, interesting. Like I didn't really know that before about the business, or I didn't know. Because what I'm really trying to do, and I've been working on this like in the description, is try to make numbers make sense, which to me, I've always been terrible at math and all these things. But podcasts, I know. And box office numbers have always made sense. I kind of alluded, or I kind of compare it to in The Office when Kevin doesn't know how to do math unless it relates to pie. And then he can divide like all the pies, but then he says it's like carrots or something and he can't divide it. It's literally me with the box office. And I'm hoping, long story short, for the listeners of that show, hopefully you might go, those of you that are listening now or watching now live, will go subscribe to that when it's up and follow me on Twitter to kind of keep up with that. And it can be somewhere people can learn and understand maybe more about how things work, what matters about it, right? Not just me. It's not just going to be me. You know, you can sit down and you can read a report from Deadline or Variety and or something that I write on the direct.com, and it'll show you the numbers and what they are and how they compare to other movies. But maybe a podcast like this could actually tell people why that matters, right? And why that's important and how that could affect the future of movies and streaming and all those things. And I want to dive into all that on the new show. And I'm very excited for it. And I really appreciate Thomas's support in this. And I'm sure all of yours and a few other people that I've talked to about. I haven't made an announcement on social media yet or anything. I will probably in the coming days. But this is the first time I've really talked about it with, you know, anyone practically. A few people. Obviously like Matt, who made the logo, a few others who I know, like Jack and Klein and, you know, my fiance and things like that, but really not many people because it's kind of my thing that I'm trying to get off the ground. So I'd really appreciate any support in that if you can give it, but it's important to keep supporting this show, obviously, especially even after today, right? Even after our Batman discussion, which is going to be fun in a few minutes. get ready for that. But I really appreciate everyone's support of me, and I'm sorry that I guess I have been away for so long. Like it wasn't the plan. Obviously, it wasn't like it wasn't the plan. It kind of just happened. But I appreciate everyone's support. I appreciate your support, Thomas. And I'm really excited about what's happening here.
I am so excited for cinema spending. I love numbers. I love math. I also think that the box office numbers make sense. At least we cross over our math there, David. Real quick, I've been doing a lot of hand calcs, and I know that anybody that took college classes with me are like, what the fuck are you doing? I just love doing hand calculations. Something about writing it on a piece of paper and being able to remember it 5 times faster than doing it any other way with numbers. Like, chef's kiss. I love it. So very excited for you to start cinema spending. You know, I love every time you hop on the direct and you start talking box office, or you bring box office here to LightsThunderAction. It's always so much fun, because that's where our movie discussions really took off. Like back in the day when we were just friends from work, when, you know, we'd be like, oh yeah, talk about this movie. And then what would really get it is you'd be like, yeah, I don't think it's going to make this much money. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? It's going to make this much money. And then we're just comparing and doing a bidding war on how much it's going to make. And then when it's over, we're like, wow, man, like, does this number actually mean we're getting a sequel? Because, you know, those thresholds are always variable in the movie industry, especially with superhero films. So we always dive deep into those at 5 o'clock in the fucking morning, sitting at the Clemente Center, man. Yeah. Shout out Clemente, man. Shout out Florida Tech. Good old homies back there. Good old homies. What the hell? Anyways, but I can't wait for that. And I don't have any updates on LightsThunderAction, ladies and gents, other than David will still be here producing behind the scenes with Terry McIver, myself. Now it's a 4-man show behind the scenes instead of 3, so gonna a lot more things going on. Shout out Terry McIver, he is here in the comments. I see a lot of you hanging out here in the comments.
Shout out Terry. Thanks to Terry as well.
Willow, thank you, Tyler Lucanti, for commenting, Terry McIver for hanging out with us as always, and Willow Schuyler. Before we jump into the Batman in just a moment, we'll dive into some of these comments of support and love. But LightsThunderAction, you know, I'm gonna have a meeting, and we're gonna kind of figure out, do we want to keep the same format, you know?
Right.
My assumption is the format won't be that different, just because news and a topic is kind of the best way to go. Did you notice my news voice turned on when I say the word news? And I don't know why. So going to be a lot of fun. He's going to keep this way more grounded than I ever could. So that's good. Maybe we won't have 3-hour shows. Maybe we will. But we are very excited for the future of LightsThunderAction and the future of cinema spending. And the future of David, like David's big boying over here, growing up. He's 37 already. Like he's already leaped past me.
No.
He's engaged. He's a teacher. He coaches kids. He's got a puppy.
I do have a puppy.
I have bills and I pay them. That's about all I got going for me. A lot of we're dog sitting right now, so there's puppies here. It's a lot of fun. So it's a fun time. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very, very brief break in a moment, but I want to dive into these comments from the fam here, the HWWS WebTV fam. Willow Schuyler would like to get us on the sideshow if our schedules allow for it, David. So pencil that in to your brain. Terry McIver says, Joe Pesci said it fantastically in Lethal Weapon 4. You're not better than Froggy. You're just different. And that's good. And he dubs it the LTA evolution. Evolution is a mystery. I draw a line in the sand to find out who I am. There's 5 people who enjoyed that. David's not one of them. Willow also says she's writing down those numbers that I was throwing out there for lottery purposes. It's a lot of 7s and 4s and 9s. So, hey, there you go. And then she says, you are an inspiration, David. And she appreciates all of your hard work. And then Terry said that, you know, just wait till David goes Super Saiyan, because you ain't seen nothing yet. And Willow comes back and says, keep everybody posted, and we will here at LightsThunderAction
Yeah,
when
of course.
Cinema Spending launches, so that we can obviously support our fam. I should probably support Reckless Rebellion more, but I'm on that, so I feel
screw those guys.
Yo, that long-haired bearded one, the one who toes the line of balance, really annoys me.
Yeah, that asshole that hates animation, man.
Oh my god, that fucking guy. He's never seen Star Wars Rebels. You know who else hasn't seen Star Wars Rebels? You, David. You haven't seen Star Wars Rebels. What are you doing?
Man, it's like we're one and the same.
It's like you're the same guy. God, look at us going crazy right off the bat. And then she also says, don't feel bad about the hiatus. We both do a lot of work outside the podcast world. She loves seeing us both doing our dream jobs. And I'm gonna cry now. She says she's so proud of both of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Needed that today. Jordan Blanton, a new friend from work, by the way. Shout out, huge Star Wars fan, possibly bigger Star Wars fan than me, maybe not. We'll see. The future is still beats debated. That's not a sentence. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief break, and then we come back. We're going to talk about exclusively the Batman.
I'm GW Amateur.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
It's Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
I'm Brava.
It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys,
please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe to HWWS
WebTV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
and videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon.
So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
And get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million and 10 million and 100 million.
On HWWS
WebTV.
You really like it. I guarantee it.
Thank you.
I'm the Batman. I'm the Batman. I'm the Batman. We're here. We're live. We're doing it. It's the fucking Batman. And by the way, it does take place on fucking Halloween. So
happy Halloween. That line was awesome.
As soon as they said it, go.
I turned to my friend. I'm like, ooh. There it is. There's the one. It's PG-13. That's how they use it. Said. And I was like, oh. And this movie does push PG-13 for the record. Like, it pushes it to the limit. I walked out, and one of my friends, I went with a few people. He's like, I thought that was rated R. Because I mentioned it was PG-13. He's like, I literally thought it was rated R. And it feels rated R. Everything about it is a rated R movie. Like, the tone, the feel, how it's written, how it, like, it's adult. I guess. I don't mean that in like I don't mean that in like oh, kids can't enjoy it, but it's like a David Fincher film, you know, like it doesn't feel it doesn't feel made for kids at all. I think so many things about the movie would fly over their head. It's not really just a Batman movie. I mean, it is and it isn't. In the sense that I feel like some other comic book movies obviously are. Like, it's not an MC. It's not even close to an MCU film. It has a very specific point, and I think in a lot of ways it nails it. Like on the kind of like the jump, I guess, or whatever. We can start with this. I said on Reckless Rebellion this past week, and if you guys watch that or listen to that show, you can listen and hear that soon. I said, or maybe it was afterwards. I don't even know. I said with some fellas, including Thomas, that I gave it a 9.3 out of 10. And that after thinking about it more, like that's where it is to me. In my Batman ratings, kind of like jumping to this, I don't know if it's better than the Batman Begins. I don't think it's better than The Dark Knight, but that's where I'm at. And that's my top 3. So it's definitely a top 3 Batman movie to me. I think it's better than Batman 89 personally. I don't have the nostalgia for that movie as some other people do, and that's like a big factor. Like I do for like Spider-Man. I fully admit that I have crazy nostalgia for the Raimi films, but at the same time, I do think that this is a top 3 Batman movie. I think it could be top 2. I have only seen it once. I know, Thomas, you've seen it twice now, right?
Correct.
Which is I'm jealous of. I'll see it sometime soon, hopefully. But it's like, should we put a spoiler warning up immediately? We already kind of said some stuff. I just don't want.
What?
It's still opening weekend, so I don't want to completely just ruin someone's.
Let's go ahead and create a banner for this real quick. Of course,
I just don't want to.
While you're here, what did you think of the Batman, ladies, gents, and droids?
Yes, if you guys have seen it,
of course. Spoilers for the Batman.
Yeah, because this is gonna be full spoilers, just a conversation about the movie. Less even of like a succinct review, more of a full, like as if you've seen it, right? We're just discussing with you as if you've seen the movie, and we're gonna have a conversation about that. I saw it Tuesday at the fan opening, just kind of talking about my experience a little bit seeing it, and the fans were kind of going crazy about it. It was really cool to see. I've actually never been in a DC showing like that in my entire life, and I haven't been to. And yeah, I've been to the major, like at least recently, Justice League and Batman vs. Superman and Wonder Woman and all this stuff. And this one had the most lively crowd for sure. I don't think I did. Maybe I saw Dark Knight Rises in theaters. I don't think I did actually. Wait. I know I had to have seen that movie in theaters. Anyway, this movie, it had I was at the, you went to, Thomas, like it was like a special fan opening, and I think in probably in some places it wasn't like, oh, this like fan events. It kind of was where at the AMC here, there was a guy dressed up as Batman. It was cool. Like people were getting the comics, and there was cheering, and it was in specific spots. Yeah.
Damn, I'm jealous.
I got chills at what I don't even remember the other couple ones. I think when Batman first showed up, there's half cheering, like half of the people, like the people that were super fired up just cheered. But I think everyone in the building got goosebumps when the Batmobile first revs up and it cuts to it. Everyone goes, ah! Like everyone's like, oh my God. Cause in the movie, I mean, the way Matt Reeves like filmed that and like timed that, it was like this like reveal, like, oh my God, there it is. Cause it didn't, that's probably like an hour and 40 minutes into the movie, I want to say. We finally get
it's deep in the plot.
We finally get the Batmobile and it's like, like there it is. And great chase scene afterwards, by the way. I thought that was phenomenal. And we kind of saw it. One other thing I want to say just off the top, there were some moments while watching, which is surprising for a 3-hour movie, where I was like, I wish I hadn't seen that in a trailer before. And I think part of that is because of the delays, and they almost had to, that's what happens. Like Morbius, we've already pretty much seen the entire movie. Because of how many times it's been delayed, they have to keep showing new footage to keep you interested. And I think that it was a little bit there for the Batman. It didn't give away pretty much any of the story, just some shots, just some really cool shots. It's like specifically, when Batman's walking up to the Penguin's car as it's flipped over, you kind of got how that scene was like ending, how that scene went in the trailer, and it went pretty much the same way in the movie. It was still badass and cool, but there was a part of me where I'm like, I kind of wish I hadn't already seen this.
Oh yeah.
So Thomas,
same.
What are your opening thoughts? I guess.
This is my Batman.
Yes.
I said it when the first trailer came out. I don't have the tweet receipt. I'm not as cool as our friend Liam Crowley, Captain America, 6'5" himself. I as soon as I saw that trailer and it ended with vengeance, I was like, oh, that's my fucking Batman. Like 100%. He's not the I'm a noble hero to save Gotham. He's here to deal with his emotional trauma by beating the fucking shit out of people. Like normal people do. After you watch your parents get murdered right in front of you, have a gun pointed at you, do you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? Shit like that just creeps you out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Batman 89 reference for those of you that don't know. But this movie, oh man, it opened. And the way it opens on the villain to set the stage of what the story is going. It's the inciting incident of everything, right? So it's
the
important.
first of a set.
The first thought I had was like, wow, it's just like the Dark Knight. I was like,
yeah,
what a good fucking pull. Start
That's
off
funny.
with the villain that we're
super
like, we were so interested in the Riddler based on the marketing.
Mm.
And after the movie, I'm still interested in the Riddler, maybe even more interested. And that's saying something, because sometimes marketing gives you the best and doesn't show the lacking. But the best wasn't shown at all. And oh man, like they literally hid the very best of the Riddler. All we got was an over-the-shoulder shot of it. Is all we saw of that scene. So I love this movie. It is definitive Batman for me. It hits everything that Batman should be early in his career. Some people are saying that his Bruce Wayne was lacking. That's because Bruce Wayne is the alter ego, and they lean into that so heavily in this. We'll get to the scene where it's a direct mirror of another scene that happens, but it's a Batman versus Bruce Wayne who's knocking situation, and you tell, like, as a fan, you're like, that's the same fucking guy. Like I can understand why other people don't see him, but I see it. Like, it's the same guy. He is not Bruce Wayne here. He is just out of costume there, and it's like, okay, intriguing. So it's very fun to see how they developed it. But Matt fucking Reeves, my God, dude, like
unbelievable.
Like when we get to the end and I realize that the whole movie takes place over a very, very short amount of time.
It does, yeah.
And I'm like,
very short.
Shit. Like, I don't want to say what I want to say, because we're still kind of not in the spoiler territory. We've done well so far. We're in the kiddie pool, the shallow end. But this movie introduces every character in this movie. I resonated with me. I felt bad for. I cared for. Even shitheads, which we'll get to. Like, if I saw them in today's world doing the same stuff, I would be like, oh, what a shithead, like, based on the public stuff that they've done. But I also understand that they're still human beings and that they're not all good or all bad. And this movie leans into the shades of gray so beautifully that you kind of forget the movie's not black and white sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, that is really how I feel about this. I really forget it's not black and white. And then something happens, I go, oh, wow, look at that sunset. Oh, wow, look at that color doing this. This movie fucks, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good.
Yeah.
I almost fell asleep last night out of just genuine pure exhaustion after a long ass day at work. And it was in the sequences where the music was just so beautiful, because Michael Giacchino, that motherfucker, could put me to sleep and wake me up in the same song.
Yeah, like, unbelievable score. Unbelievable score. I loved, and they lean into it all the time. Like, on that, I had one thing I wanted to comment on was the whole Batman Bruce Wayne dilemma. I think it's handled beautifully. And it's like, here's the thing, like, where I don't get criticisms, is that's the point of the movie. Like, that's the point of this Batman, is that he is basically just Batman. Like, he is not, he doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne. He basically almost gets forced into being Bruce Wayne, which is like such a cool psychological element of Batman that's never really been touched on in any Batman movies. Genuinely, like, it's so easy. Honestly, like, here's the thing that I got out of this movie, that after thinking about it a little bit, because I rewatched every Batman movie besides The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, every live action Batman movie. I ended with Batman Begins, ended with the origin, and then started with this origin. All of them are, they're how do I say this? They're all Bruce Wayne and they become Batman. You know what I mean? Like, they start as Bruce and they can be Bruce, and they take it off and they're Bruce Wayne, right? In this, it's like you can feel the personality disorder in a way, almost of like, he is like he has to pull and like fight to get to be Bruce Wayne. He doesn't want to, but it almost feels for him now easier to be Batman. He almost, I feel like it's almost more of a comfort. He's more comfortable in his skin when he's in the suit, which I think is like phenomenal. I think it drew me in as an audience member. I was locked in because of it. He's in the suit. He is Batman for so much of the movie, and I love that about it. It makes it feel like a comic. It makes it feel like there's actual like stakes in the sense that he feels like he needs to be Batman all this time. And on the light thing and the grayscale and the black and white, this movie, it's very specific. It barely shows daytime at all, and when it does, even then it's subdued. And there's something like that's also part of almost the story too. Like he says in his journal entries, as like the narration goes, like how he's basically become like nocturnal, and he has like his contacts and his eyes are all like messed up and stuff. Like they're all kind of out of whack. He has what sunglasses on, like when it's the daytime, and he's in Wayne Manor, which looked really cool and different, by the way. Wayne Manor, I thought that was a really fun twist on that. I will say, like, kind of keeping things moving a little, the Gotham they created, I thought was maybe the best Gotham, my favorite Gotham in any of these Batman movies so far.
Yes,
it feels so specific, and it is its own character, and it made me really care about it, I think, more than some other movies. Batman Begins does also a good job, I will say, because I just watched that. That would be probably my second, even though I love the Batman 89 Gotham too. Like they've honestly done a good job with Gothams over the years, I won't lie, because even in the Joker there's a different kind of Gotham that's similar, but it is also a little different in a way. This one, I love the way it looks. I love that it's modern, but then also at the same time feels like this could be taking place in the 1980s without a few different like social media and phones and all this. But it is modern day, and it is true to itself. And I think there's just something special about this movie, in my opinion. Like, and I think if you click with that, and if I saw a really interesting tweet, and I don't know if I necessarily 100% agree with it, but I thought it was an interesting thought at least. It said, if you're looking for a great Batman movie, you will love the Batman. If you're looking for a great movie, you may not love the Batman. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. But what I do agree with is if you are looking for a great Batman movie, this is the movie. Like, this is Batman, dun-na-na-na-na-na. Like, the entire time. It's just Batman. And it sounds stupid to say, but once you've seen it, it is. It's Batman all the time, pretty much. And I thought that was probably my favorite. And I will say a couple of things just like off the top here, like, because there's so much of this movie. Like, what I liked about it, I thought Jeffrey Wright as Gordon was perfect for the role. His rendition to me like came right off of like the year one like comic book page of like this guy who defends Batman to a T, and he's like the only one that really believes in him and like fights for him. And their connection, the fact that what's cool about this movie too is there's a lot. Part of the reason why you have to pay so much attention, I think, is because history, like events have already happened with Batman in this Gotham, and we almost as the audience have to catch up like through their dialogue of what's already happened, and really have to be locked into what they're saying in order to like get a full grasp of where this Batman came from, how these relationships have formed. And at the center of it to me was that Bat Signal, Jeffrey Wright as Gordon, and Robert Pattinson as Batman dynamic the entire movie. I loved that. You could tell that like for Batman, it was the one person he knew he could like trust and show up to and was able to like get access. Like even when he shows up to the first crime scene, he just kind of appears and he like slowly walks in. They kind of like and there's always the moments of like these cops being like, he shouldn't be here, blah blah blah, it's against the rules, blah blah, and like Gordon like always fends for him, which is so true to the comics in so many ways. But at the same time, there's the moment where Gordon later in the movie like pounds him against the wall and it's like, you gotta do it this way. Like, we can't, like, you know, there is that struggle. It's not completely black and white of Gordon, like, just being on Batman's side. There is that, like, they haven't quite figured out their relationship yet, too, but he knows he can trust him. And Gordon, he's a clean cop. And he knows that Batman, through events he's seen, is in it for the good of Gotham. You know, he's not crooked. He's not a villain necessarily.
Yeah.
He's not one of these mass murderers running around. He actually cares for whatever reason. And I just think that element to me is something that is special to me in the comics and even like some of the animated movies and stuff. And it's portrayed best in this movie to me. I think also in the Dark Knight Rises, it's also really, or, you know, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, it's really good. In this movie, they really lean into it. And to me, it's like the anchor point of the whole thing that I found myself loving every scene with them together. Like that was kind of like my joy in a lot of ways. Like, oh, this is so much fun. Like I love this dynamic just as a Batman fan. You know, Batman's my number 2 to Spider-Man just in superheroes. So like, I do really care.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, not even close. Impressive. Actually.
Really?
Yeah, I would say it's Spider-Man easily number 1, and then it's Batman easily number 2, and then it kind of trickles from there. Like I really like the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards. I like Superman at times. I love Man of Steel, things like that. But these are the characters. And it's for a reason, right? They're 2 of the most popular characters. They have the best rogues galleries. I think they have some of the best stories. And, you know, I'm a simpleton like that. But there is something to it. Like, I think they're just so... I care about these characters. I love the comics. I love the Batman stories that we can get with specifically this character now going forward. And I think this movie does a great job. What else do we want? What do we want to dive into here, Thomas? Or what else do you have?
Oh, man. Do I have a lot to talk about for this movie? Listen, the really quick, the Bat-Gordon relationship is, oh, man, dude, I'm probably going to say this a lot. It's my favorite. Like, I did love the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
Their dynamic was really damn good. You know, J.K. Simmons is great with everybody, so he's gonna be great as
J.K. Simmons. I almost forgot J.K. Simmons was Gordon.
Yeah, he's Gordon. He's gonna be in Batgirl, right?
Gary Oldman. I'll be honest. Like Gary Oldman or Jeffrey Wright. Now it's a discussion for my favorite Gordon for sure.
Yeah, I just like Jeffrey Wright. I like Jeffrey Wright more because of
he kills
his expression in his face. It tells everything. Like the moment with the thumb drive, right? It was like he looks at it, he goes, oh, and he clicks the button, and it's just like he's just so fucking defeated in that moment. And it's just like you can tell he's so tired and he doesn't want to do this. And then he drops the line. He's like, this guy's hilarious. And it's like, I mean, he kind of is, you know. But
yeah, I will say, like, one thing
so
with that direct comparison with Gary Oldman and Jeffrey Wright, I thought Gary Oldman typically he's more emotional as a Gordon. If you watch those movies, like he all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, can you believe, like, la la la, and he's running around, he's yelling and doing this, and Jeffrey Wright stays so cool, calm, and collected for most of the time. And but then the moments where he does like have those emotional moments, it's like where he does get mad at Bruce or this, that, and the other. Like it almost made it more powerful to me. But I'll be honest, like if just talking casting wise, like there's phenomenal casting in this movie, but also like in that trilogy, the Nolan trilogy, like you couldn't really ask for much better there as well. So I think in a lot of ways, we're just kind of lucky as Batman fans that we've gotten such good, because to me, I mean, I'll be honest as well. Walking out of the movie theater and even just thinking about it later, it's like Robert Pattinson's my second favorite Batman. Just it's Christian Bale and it's Robert Pattinson, and then the rest of the order I don't really know. Because Christian Bale is my Batman. Just growing up, he was the one, like he was the Batman I kind of grew up with live action wise, right? Yeah. But he's Batman. He was great in the role, and I think Robert Pattinson is phenomenal in the role. I think he was well cast. Even though like there's so much that comes along with casting Robert Pattinson because of just like who he is and what he's been in and Twilight of it all and everything, and like the memes and the jokes. But like, I genuinely think him in the cape and cowl and even his Bruce Wayne, like for what the story was trying to say, I think he couldn't have done a better job. he's not like Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne, where he's buying the
He's
hotel and he's with the ladies and or he has those business relationships. Like it's not that at all. He doesn't.
Well, it's not even that. He's not even emotionally fucking stable.
Yeah,
right.
No,
Robert Pattinson is not stable at fucking all. He needs a therapist. He needs a couple. Honestly, he needs a therapist more than anything. Like you see that.
Yeah.
When like he doesn't fucking talk to anybody. This is why I've resonated probably with this Batman more than anyone. Is there's a lot of stuff that I think that I just don't say, and I also, because of OCD and being very aware of a lot of things, I'm very good at deductive reasoning, and I like to call myself Batman as a joke. But this movie is like, damn, dude, if I had some money and like, get a little bit of rehab, I could probably be Batman of this same type. Just give in to the dark side. Is like all this Bruce Wayne has done. There is no light really left in him other than his, I will not kill, no guns.
Near the end, though, there is, which, near
the end, there's light. Yes. Yeah. Which is the best part of,
there is that character development.
Exactly. But on the Bruce Wayne Batman dynamic, it adds extra meaning to why the movie is called The Batman. Because that's all. That's who really that is the character. That is the real him. Whether you're thinking of Bruce Wayne or the Batman, that's the real him. He calls himself Vengeance. He doesn't call himself Batman. He doesn't call himself Bruce. He calls himself Vengeance.
Which is so funny.
That is who the Batman is, and I love this
until it's not
movie. Until it's not. Yeah, because I love this movie for the cause and effect of it all. Like, literally, they take, I am vengeance. And you're like, yeah, beat that fucker's face in, man. Like, do it. And then by, like, the middle of the movie, you're like, oh, shit. Like, don't punch anybody because you're like, teetering on the edge a little bit here, bro. And then at the end of the movie, when we'll say it here now, like there's a what is the word? He recognizes that, the Batman had an effect, not the effect he wanted. It created more problems, which, if I'm not mistaken, Vision says is what happens. It always responds with escalation, right? That's how nature responds, is with escalation. So the fact that the Batman does his thing, and 2 years in, there's a serial killer who's obsessed with Batman, sending letters to the Batman, literally using the Batman to solve a crime so that he can kill that guy and a bunch of other guys. Like, that is the legacy of the Batman until the end of this movie, when have we ever seen Gotham flood outside of the show Gotham? Did you watch Gotham?
No, I have not seen all of Gotham. I watched like maybe the first season of Gotham. It wasn't really my show. But I don't get into shows as much as you do typically. But anyway, it doesn't in Dark Knight Returns or Dark Knight Rises.
I don't think it floods. No,
that moment did feel a little like Dark Knight Rises almost to me, even though it didn't flood. There was something about it.
It's the fucking hope. It's him going in, saving fucking everybody, despite all. Literally, he's going in to a genuine, life-threatening natural disaster scenario. I mean, it's not a natural disaster, but like it's a flood, so you can kind of imagine. And he drops in, and he just starts kicking everybody. Oh my god, the action in this movie. I don't know if it was 70-30. I think there's a lot of action, but there's also not a lot of action. The action
I would say there's not a lot of action. I don't think, but when there is action, it's really good. It's quality over quantity.
it's very much a lot happening in one 3-minute action scene and then pausing for a little bit and then a little bit of action and then pause and a little bit of action. And it's just,
but I'll be honest,
it clicks, dude.
Yeah. And I found myself just as entertained. I mean, I would say more entertained during some of the action scenes because I thought they were excellent. Especially like there was a few just Batman hand to hand, the Batmobile, Catwoman, like,
oh my God.
I'm like, oh, this is great. I love the style they're going for. I can't wait to see more of this. One small critique I had, like kind of a nitpick. I guess a nitpick. Yeah, it's like I wish Batman had used more, and I think that might be part of it too. Like going into the sequel, there could be more gadgets and stuff. I feel like it was a lot of fisticuffs. It was a lot of like using his agility and hiding in the shadows and being the shadows. And then just hitting people, right? And like not using his like what seemed to be a batarang as his chest plate much. He like used to like slice open the door. It's like, come on, swing that thing around. But anyway, like just Batman is known for his gadgets. They didn't really dive much into that in this movie, but that's fine. This is a young Batman who maybe hasn't really come up with all this stuff yet. His main gadget, I would say, is his contacts. Yeah. When Selina was wearing the contacts, one of the most powerful scenes in the entire movie, honestly, to me, and like him watching and then paying attention and all this. And it's like, phenomenal. Wait, what what train of thought were we on before I took
That's okay. I want to talk about the gadgets really quick because we're just going to go like through the flow because I was talking about, I don't remember, but like you said that you felt like they didn't lean into the gadgets, and I feel like they did. Like
really?
Because they're so subtle.
Grappling hook.
Okay, so he used the grappling hook a lot, right? But that's the main one. He has an entire inflatable glider. He also he's got on him at all times what I'm gonna call the fucking venom toxin. That at the end of the movie, he flips inside his pants like an open hole and he can stab anything in there. And it's a green fluid. I'm like, oh, adrenaline. And then it stabs it. And I go, is that green? Is that venom? Yeah. And then he gets up and he beats the dude's fucking face in. And all we hear is, and that's just him. That sound is him pounding a dude's face flat.
Right.
And having to get yanked off by Gordon. And he responds with wanting to punch Gordon in the face and having to stop himself. Like he went
the crazy look in his eyes too when he turns.
Yeah, that's fucking Batman. And especially Batman early on. Like if the Riddler pushed him to this point, right? Just imagine what the Joker could do.
Right.
And we'll get to him in a minute because spoilers, there's a Joker in this movie. And not my take that I would have gone with, but it's the take that fits so fucking beautifully to juxtapose the Batman.
I don't know if I can tell yet, honestly, on that. But
really?
Yeah, we can save that. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, fuck it. We're here now. We're going fluid motion, man. We're going with the win because, like,
we've got a couple of comments from my buddy Matt that are decent.
We got a lot here. Hold on. So yeah, comments really fast. So the Batman has set history, David. It has been given a new classification in Belfast, Northern Ireland of 12A. Everywhere else on the island is a 12. 12A is invented for this. It allows parents to make a decision to bring their younger kids to the movie. It's normally 12, 15, and then 15A. Or 15A, then 15 is how they break it down there. So shout out Ireland, doing new shit, trying to get the cinemas back in order. Also from Terry, he said he's yet to see it. A friend went a couple nights ago and said it was very good. He's always sitting in our show, getting himself spoiled with this stuff. But
go
he says, go see it. Can't wait to talk about it. Direct quote from his friend Carl. Shout out Carl. I just thought of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Hell yeah. Pattinson was excellent as Batman. His Bruce Wayne was lacking. And then he gives Keaton is still the definitive Batman Wayne. And as you know, you and I have said, we think it's because there is no Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, really fast, the Bruce Wayne part, because we'll jump to Matthew Jones here because it's related. Pattinson's personality gives Matt Jones emotional adolescence vibes. The "you're not my father" line when addressing Alfred just screams immature. And I agree, which is why that motherfucker needs to go to a therapist. And like, for the love of God, man, just talk to someone. Talk to Selena about those things that you have with emotions, which we do get a scene, and you can tell that in a way, in my head, I'm like, yeah, like Bruce should cry here. Like, that's the natural reaction that you'd want from your main character. Right. And he doesn't. And you can tell he's like, I don't want to say this. But he gets it out when he's talking to Alfred about, like, I didn't want to lose someone I care about. And, like, that's all he says. And that is the most emotional thing he says this whole movie. But that's where the hope starts, man. Because he's starting to feel love again. And my favorite part of this is that Bruce Wayne doesn't really exist in this movie until that moment. Well, until Alfred goes down. Then he's Bruce Wayne again.
Yeah.
Like, go on.
He's a broken. I was gonna say he's like a broken Bruce. You know, like, think about it. Like, when he becomes Bruce, he's so like, he just looks uncomfortable, like, in his own skin. He like almost hates that he's Bruce Wayne. You know, it's like, I hate this guy. I do not want to be him. I don't want to be here.
The posturing too, if you notice how he is as Batman. So, like, he might be weighed down, but in the suit, he looks like he is just standing his full tilt. But when he's Bruce Wayne, he's so introverted. His shoulders are hunched, and like, he's still got strength, but he's lanky and lean. All of his Batman stuff is him just like wearing the suit and the suit protecting him, and him just unleashing fucking rage at being like 6 foot something. And he may be lean, but when he's wearing that suit, he's packing a punch. And at the end of the movie, you know, I love that you were comparing the action sequence there to The Dark Knight Rises, because it is like The Dark Knight Rises. It's Batman inside of the city, saving the people of the city with the people. It's Batman with the people is what it is. Like, he's not with people until The Dark Knight Rises, when he's leading an army of police officers to take down what should have been Harvey fucking Dent. But you know what? Twist my goddamn arm on that issue. But in this movie, it's him coming in. Oh my God. Like, when it blasts the top and it's just pew, 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 and the glass shatters, and then it's just Batman dropping in, like fucking classic Batman drop. It's not a superhero landing. It's a Batman drop. And then he lands, rolls, and takes out 3 guys all at once, hanging him up. And then he's just fucking shooting grappling hooks into guys, and he's kicking their ass, and he's saving everybody. And then at the very end, you know, he does all this, and he drops into the water. And, you know, I got shout out motherfucking baby tap Jack Hughes for the comparison. Like, he drops into the water. Well, he leaps over, and I love this moment so much because the score here, I figured out what the Batman score the Batman theme is that was released. His specific 6-minute theme, those violins in there, that's the next stage of the Batman theme. But because that's Bruce Wayne in a way. That's the heart of Bruce Wayne in the Batman suit, finally. And he shoots, so like, he realizes everyone's gonna die if someone doesn't do something. I have to do something. I have to make a positive difference. So what if I die?
Yeah.
And he makes that leap. He takes that leap of faith, and he goes over, and it's swinging. He rips out the bat symbol, which fucking is the Batarang. And I thought he was gonna throw it, but he doesn't. He just uses it as a slice. And it's so goddamn poetic, man, that he's hanging there close to being electrocuted, possibly to death. If he falls in this water at the wrong time, he could kill everybody. And he takes the pain of his heart, the gun that killed his fucking parents, designed to be a bat symbol, and slices through it and falls in. And baby Jack Hughes calls it the baptism of Batman.
Oh yeah.
And he rises out from the water, a new man, a new symbol, a hero for the people, not to be a vengeance, but to instill hope.
Yeah.
Because I think the bat signal really fast. It was, it wasn't just a symbol, a calling. It's a warning that I'm always out there. Blah, 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 blah. To put fear in. Fear is a tool. And that gets his entire intro narration gets switched on him throughout the whole movie. So at the end, he's got to be something different. I have to be more. And I thought of Arrow. I have to be something else. I have to be something more.
True.
I have to be something else. And then eventually it has to become something else. I have to become something more, right? It's so good, dude. And he gets up and he goes over with his flare, which is we were like, oh, what is he doing? Is he in the sewers? No, man. He's in the climax of the movie, and he walks over and he reaches his hand out. And throughout this whole movie, he has kept seeing the child of the mayor killed in the opening scene.
Yeah.
And when he reaches his hand out to the new mayor-elect, she's afraid. She's also in a lot of pain, so I don't blame her for not wanting to reach her hand out. Because like I forget about it till her next move. And then you see a little hand come out, and it's the kid, dude. The only person who realized what was happening and who he could relate to. It's so fucking sad and beautiful. Like, this kid could be Robin. I'm not going to get on that train. I have a whole different train to get on later on.
Oh, God.
This kid could be like a future Ward if something happens to the mom. But like,
yeah,
in the very opening sequence of Batman on the case, it ends with him staring at the boy and they have the same eyes. And like, that's the fucking point of that scene. They have the same eyes and they instantly recognize it. And I'm 100% willing to bet the kid might know that Bruce Wayne is Batman because they make eye contact as Bruce Wayne and the kid. But it's the kid who sees what Batman is and the hope that he can be. And then Batman leads the citizens of Gotham, the new mayor-elect and the kid through the Red Sea, right?
Yeah.
To safety with the flare like that. Oh, God damn. It's so beautiful. Matt Reeves. This is why it's it's the Batman. It's the definitive movie of Batman that may ever exist. We thought it was The Dark Knight. And now we see, oh no, The Dark Knight is a really good movie that has Batman.
Yeah. And honestly, I think to me, that's always kind of been the case. Like, especially The Dark Knight. Yeah. Like, because the Batman Begins is more of a Bruce Wayne Batman movie than The Dark Knight is. The Dark Knight's just phenomenal and a better movie. Because it's just like that doesn't even have to be a Batman movie, honestly, with the Joker and Two-Face and Harvey and everything. It's just good on its own. Yeah. But yeah, this movie, like, I would agree. To me, one of the biggest positive compliments I could give this film is just how much it feels truly and different than how I think we normally even say this, how it jumps off of the comic book page. It just feels like a graphic novel. Like, it truly, truly does. I think especially because of the length, it almost makes it feel more like a graphic novel in the narration and how it's not just a bunch of action too. Because if you think about it in comics, we don't see, it's not moving pictures. And the action normally, I mean, if you want to speed read a comic, you can just kind of pass through the action and just keep reading the words, right? And this story, this Batman is kind of just that. Like, the action is phenomenal when it's there, but it is mostly based on the relationships, the corrupt Gotham, all of those different characters, I think what Matt Reeves, he succeeds in a lot in this movie. And one thing I think he succeeds most in is setting up like all of the villainous and corruption and all the people that are cops that are corrupt and all of the crime lords that live in, that they like hang out at the club. It just creates a great Batman pool of villains, I guess, in a way, or just an idea of what he's going against. and how high this goes and how in a bad spot Gotham really is, you know, and it makes us feel as an audience member like, wow, he really like Batman really does have his hands full here. And going along this line, one of the best parts of the movie to me, you know, how we talk about, you know, action kind of just like drives the story forward a bit, but doesn't really define the movie. To me, the Thomas Wayne twist kind of how Martha is crazy, and all this, and then how Thomas ends up, you know, hiring Falcone and doesn't think he's gonna kill anyone, but he ends up killing someone. And the fact that he went to those lengths, because in the comics, for the most part, in especially like the Nolan trilogy, Thomas Wayne, Martha Wayne, they are always presented as these like upstanding citizens that wanted the best for Gotham, that were, you know, very by the book, very intelligent. He's a doctor, he's an MD. And in this movie, I loved how there was a little bit of just something wrong there, right? There was a mistake. And that just flipped everything on its head to a certain degree. Because then for Bruce, he's like, well, then what am I doing this for, right? Like I've always been trying to almost make them proud, or to kind of keep up my dad's legacy and protect that. And that conversation with Alfred about it is just awesome. And like that discussion and how Alfred's defending him, truly phenomenal. I thought that's something that like really took the movie up a notch story-wise and drew me in more. And I think to a certain degree, like kind of maybe criticisms of this movie outside of fans, like as a Batman fan, that's like something that was a twist for me and like really sucked me in because I hadn't seen this before. But maybe for someone who isn't as big of a fan and it wasn't as impactful, which I think goes back to that whole train of thought of like, if you're a Batman fan and you wanted to see a Batman movie, like this is it in a lot of ways. And this is a lot of things. They do a lot that I think does the character justice, and has some fun twists and turns along the way. You know, even the whole Catwoman Falcone thing. I thought was really well done, and not something that I thought was well done and didn't completely like take over the movie in any way. It was just an element of it, you know. It was just like it was part of her story, because Catwoman at the same time as Batman, Selena, is kind of having her own trajectory in the movie. You know, really all it is like she's having her own like journey, and so is Bruce, and they just cross paths kind of here and there, right? And that's kind of a reason why, which is a little bit of a criticism, is that I wish Catwoman was almost in it more, because they don't really work together much if you think about it. Yeah, because she's so good. Zoe Kravitz is phenomenal, and which is, I mean, it's a good criticism to have, is like I would just wish that character was in the movie a little bit more.
That's one of my only two genuine complaints that I have that aren't like a minor nitpick. That's like, it's annoying. Like my one, more Selena Kyle. Two, more narration. That's my only two complaints.
Right.
More. Like that's a great complaint to have.
Yeah, and I think the narration elements, I see what you're saying. I think to me, the narration near the end of the movie was more impactful than the opening for some reason. I don't know why. And I think that's kind of just like,
you like hope, buddy. You like hope. You're a Spider-Man fan, you know. You're a fan of hope and optimism. But it is more impactful, dude. That's what I love the most about it, because it is more impactful. Like the beginning is like, you're like, I want to see the Batman kick ass, and then by the end you're like, please stop hurting people. You're making it worse.
That's
like,
true.
Like it's like, dude, fuck. And I'm saying that as like, I know he's gonna stop, but like I'm getting worried that he might kill somebody, because he's teetering on that edge of balance, which is so Batman. He's always on that edge. Like there's a couple times when something happens and I almost read in his eyes like, this would be a good death. And like this is the Dark Knight Returns Frank Miller emotional vibe of Batman. He doesn't fucking care. He does kind of want to die. But at the same time,
his life, really.
Yeah, exactly. He even tells Alfred that, like, he doesn't value it. And what I'm very, very I want to jump from Batman. I want to jump to like Selena Kyle, like a little bit more, because the way they weave this beautiful web of how all of these characters not only cross paths and then interact and then have a conversation, it's the relationships they've already got, and it's also it's also a beautiful, it's just goddamn dude, like in a mystery, it's just sometimes it's hard to get done. Like Knives Out, the way that movie, this reminds me of that weaving of Knives Out and how it all kind of coalesces to, oh yeah, the only possible solution. But
Right.
Selena Kyle is so key to this movie. She is the eye on the inside, and that scene where she's wearing that contact lens is brilliant because that we get more narration from Bruce during that. Like it's natural, it's built in, and it's not really a narration because they cut to him every now and again. But those moments when it's on her, like, wait, who is that guy? So he's an off-duty cop? She's like, yeah, you see it a lot around here. And he's like, looks like I broke his nose. It's like I met him last night. Looks like I broke his nose. And you can tell he's just like, yeah, take that bitch. And I love that.
The humor in the movie is pretty, I say funny in a like ironic way because it's so few and far between, and it's always so dry, and it's always so like almost on the like making fun of itself in some ways, like how brooding like Batman is, and how he just I love that about the movie, how he's always kind of just there, like just kind of standing there and like being Batman, and they just get like the cops like interacting with him and stuff. Like it's honestly hilarious. Like there's some parts that I think are genuinely funny. Just of him kind of being there and appearing, and the cops interacting with him.
Yeah.
And like I even saw it in a clip before, and I joked, I laughed in the theater when it was like, "You got a lot of cats."
Yeah. Oh my god. Like the best part is it's not just
line.
In a lot of places, the humor is other people bouncing off of, Batman's gruffness. But this motherfucker is just very dry, dark humor, sarcastic.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, I don't know if he means to be, but it's just like, he's just Captain Obvious at times.
Right.
Especially with Selena, which is usually when he's his funniest. They're like, he'll say something.
Yeah.
Like,
well, because she kind of pulls it out of him.
Doesn't she even call him Captain Obvious at one point?
I don't know.
Maybe. But maybe that was just my head going, thanks, Captain Obvious. It's the way they bounce off each other. And then the Selena Kyle is, Carmine Falcone's fucking daughter, like illegitimate daughter. That was a twist I didn't see coming. I didn't see the Thomas Wayne of it all coming. And I love, David, how that could set up some Court of Owls shit. Like that scene alone is some Court of Owls setup, because there's so much world building in that video that he comes out, and there's a Hush reference. Like, there's a Hush reference. Characters, Gordon, we already talked about, was great. Alfred, just kind of there.
Yeah, not
Which
in much of the movie at all. Really, not in much of the movie.
He's
very few scenes.
Very few scenes, and what I did enjoy, it took me the second viewing to recognize it. He's not a butler. He's doing everything for Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he's definitely not a butler.
What is it called? Oh my god, it's like a person who can sign for you. Power of attorney. He's basically like Bruce Wayne's power of attorney. It seems like.
Yeah, he's taken over the house. Like Bruce is not the man of the house. Alfred is. And there's like a secretary there, like almost like working for the Wayne family and stuff. Like, and I will say, I enjoyed Andy Serkis as the character. Just kind of talking about, because like at a certain point with these Batman movies, like earlier with Gordon, it's fun to discuss the renditions of the character, because there's been so many now. Like, I mean, there's even been all these characters in the DCEU with Batfleck, like as well. And I like Jeremy Irons a lot. I actually wish he got like more of a chance as that character, because I thought he did a great job. But I enjoyed Andy Serkis in this role, and I think he fit in well with Robert Pattinson. Like that they had a good dynamic, and that's that's really all you need. they're no Christian Bale, Michael Caine, to
Yeah.
me, but that's almost like unbeatable in my mind. That is so good.
I was thinking about that scene and what led into it, and it's first off, shout the fuck out Nirvana.
Yeah,
like I've been listening to that song.
Yeah.
And how he comes into the cave and it hits, you know, they're seeing the song going through the montage of him driving and his narration ending, and then he gets in there and the song picks up back again, and it just says, you know, underneath the bridge, the Batcave, and then he's like, all the animals I've caught have all become my pets, and then the bats just flying around, and I'm like, dude, and he takes his helmet off, and he's just dark and broody, and I'm like, that's Batman, dude. But he's then he's sitting there, and all of a sudden when the music gets turned down, it's because he hears about, you know, it's the 20th anniversary of Thomas and Martha Wayne's murder, like within a week, basically, of it. And so he turns down the music and turns, and I just realized now that's like, oh, by the way, in case you don't know a thing about Batman, here's his origin story in a fucking news clip. Dude, it's done so well, it's taken me 2 viewings and 4 days to recognize that. God damn it, Matt Reeves, you're brilliant. But I loved Alfred. Really fast, man. Again, that Venom toxin, right? It gotta get Bane. I need Bane in a motherfucking luchador mask in this universe. Let's get to the Joker after this next thing, because that's a diatribe between us. I think that would be fun. Jay Lycurgo, right? The kid with the half painted face in the beginning, also wearing a red hood.
Yes.
He plays Tim Drake, David, in Titans. When he jumped on screen, I almost fucking screeched in the theater because I was like, what? He's in this fucking movie? I was like, is that Tim Drake? Is that fucking Tim Drake? Oh my God, that's Tim Drake. Is that Tim Drake? Guys, that could be Tim Drake. And then when he ran away and I saw he had a red hood, I was like, or he could be Jason Todd. He would fit better in this universe. Holy fucking shit. He played Tim Drake and Jason Todd. This motherfucker could play 2 Robins. David?
That's crazy to think he was cast in both.
Exactly. And I don't know which one he'd have been cast in first.
In kind of specific roles too, you know, even like this, I mean, it's a small little role in this movie, but it's still, you know, he's got his moment at the beginning of the movie. He's kind of like the main person we're focused in on.
He's the first person to, well, I mean, he's not even so if you watch Titan season 3 and then watch this movie and see him, it's the same fucking character to me. Like he's the same guy. He's the kid who's like stressed because he's just trying to like fit in, and he's just trying to like get money. He's trying not to fucking die more than anything. But if you watch in the video they're playing, he's the kid with the red hood and the white stripe. Like when they come in and punch that guy, he jumps and freaks out and looks. He's like, what are you doing? He's caught on camera going, what are you doing? Right? Then it comes out of the train sequence. And again, he stops when the guy runs. And the guy's like, what are you doing? And they go, and he goes to get him. And he's like, I don't know if I can do this. Guys, please don't hurt me. And he's like, and that's when Batman makes his first fucking appearance. He beats the shit out of everyone. And he just looks at the kid, and he's like, and you know, gun gets pulled, and he's like, no, don't. And that's what gets Batman's attention to turn around and get hit right in the chest. And they just fucking pummels that guy. Dude, I don't know. If anybody watches Titans season 3 and is here listening, watching live, hop into the comments and please tell me, am I fucking crazy? Because David will probably never watch it. I know David enough to know that he may never get to Titans.
I'll be honest. Probably not.
Probably not. I will say it takes a lot of world building in the first 2 seasons to make season 3 really pay off. But season 3 is just really fucking good television too at the same time. And so jumping out of that, if Jay Lycurgo is a Robin and is Jason Todd, maybe like a better version of Jason Todd, but still Jason Todd, just so we can get Barry Keoghan's Joker to beat him to fucking death with a fucking crowbar. I loved the take that they had on on Joker when he was talking. I was really worried. I was like, okay, like show me insanity, and he didn't. Like he wasn't insane, right?
Yeah.
It didn't make him come off as insane. He seemed very in control. Reminded me a lot of the Dark Knight Returns Joker, who gets out of Arkham Asylum and is completely well adjusted. But I also think that he's insane, but he's an empath. I think he's an empath, and I put it this way because we don't see him, but we get a narration from him, and it's like, hey, don't be upset. Like it's just Barry Keoghan. It's Druig when he's talking to Makari, right? That's who I hear. I hear that heart. I hear the actor. He's like, nah, man. He's very sociable, very kind, very comforting. Obviously manipulative because he's like, no, it's okay. And then he's like, Gotham loves a comeback story. And that's what turns it all around. He's like, who are you? And he gives him a riddle. And you can tell he's smart and on the same level. And it's like, ooh, okay, like hyper intelligent, dangerous already. And he's like, a friend? And he's like, yeah. And he gives us his laugh. And the Joker laugh fits. And it zooms out and he's got the comic accurate, like spiky hair. David, you know what I really just, you know what I've been thinking of? And it just caught me, dude. Oh my God. He reminds me of one of the brothers of Cindy Lou Who from the fucking Grinch movie. Okay,
that's
just
hilarious.
All fucked up, dude. Like that's what it reminds me of, and like mixed in with a little bit of Two-Face from Batman Forever. Because, since we're here, before we get into the comments that I got from Matt Reeves, talking about the Joker situation of it all. I want to get your thoughts on it because you said, time will be tell. We'll see how it goes. What did you think of how this Joker seems to be soothing, comforting? Like it comes off as genuinely a nice person. What do you think of that take so far? So far?
Yeah. Honestly, like you saying that makes me think that's how it was, but in the theater, it goes back to kind of a question that you asked like over text a little while, I think it's maybe this morning, saying like maybe last night, if it pulled you out of the movie any, and I think it kind of did for me, because I had seen the like not spoilers necessarily, but like rumors, and that he was in the movie. Just that Barry was in the movie, and that he like was listed as a Arkham, anticipate the arrival of that kind of scene. And it kind of took me out. I do think that is on what this Joker is and like what direction they could be going with it. I didn't really necessarily get those vibes fully like you did. I will say though, one thing I had on it is I just feel like I am kind of surprised, and we can dive into the Matt Reeves quote here, like too, because I kind of answer some of the questions a little bit, or just like gives us like an idea of where they're at. I was just kind of surprised, even hearing the rumors that they were gonna do. They're going with an introduction to another Joker, and here's the thing. That doesn't mean he's even going to be the main character in the next movie, or even really a character in the next movie, if there is a next movie, which there probably will be. Let's be honest. Like it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but the fact that the simple fact that they are teasing a Joker in this movie was it's surprising to me. I think just because we had obviously Heath Ledger in 2008, we had Jared Leto in 2016, who most people hated, which I thought he deserved more and could have actually done a lot with that character.
Concur.
Then we obviously have Joaquin Phoenix's Joker in Joker. And that's kind of the main, I would say, thing that made me surprised. Is like coming off of that, thoughts of that being a Joker too. It's like I love and that's the thing too, like kind of stepping back. I love Joker the character. I mean, I love the character. He's the best. I especially Mark Hamill, and especially in the Arkham games, like he's just like a phenomenal character.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and in the universe, and I said this over text, I think, to Liam and Matt, like in the universe, because we had this conversation like Wednesday, I think, or something. And in the universe, it makes sense. Like the Joker seems to fit the vibe, even like how you were saying, it's like it's clearly, and I think it says in the quote as well, like it's not even like the Joker yet. It's just like he's going to be the Joker clearly. Like it's setting himself up to be the Joker. Like he's not necessarily like maybe that Joker yet. But the fact that it fits in the context of the universe. But this is just where we're going down the rabbit hole of we have basically 2 DC universes happening at the same time now, kind of 3 that are going to get sequels or more. Seriously, I mean, we technically do really just with Michael Keaton being back. And like with the DCEU, there's a Jared Leto Joker that's not really going to be in the future, we imagine. But there is going to be stories in that, obviously in that universe happening. And then we have the Batman universe, the Matt Reeves Batman universe, and then possibly the Joaquin Phoenix Joker universe. There's a sequel to that. Just on the surface, it's just like kind of a surprise they wouldn't tease maybe Harvey Dent, or maybe a Bane, maybe is, just a different villain. And I get, because it's Joker, and that is like the main Batman villain. And some people would argue that you don't have Batman if you don't have Joker in a lot of ways. Or you're kind of selling yourself short. I don't know if I necessarily agree on those lines. I think you can still have a great Batman movie or story without the Joker. I think there is a level of elevation.
I think this movie proves you can have a great movie without the Joker being a key point of it.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I think it's more from what this really proved to me, and this is the end of my conversation about this. What this proved to me is that Matt Reeves kind of was given the full control and keys to this movie and to this unique universe. Because I feel like corporate studio wise, this is kind of not making it's not making sense, I guess. Just from like, this wouldn't be happening, which is such a stupid thing to say, in like, say, Marvel. It's like we have the Joker over here, and we have the DCU, and we have a Joker in the Batman, and all the 2 Jokers that we now know aren't even in the DCEU, but that's what we're growing over here, and we want that to be good, and we want this to be good over here, and the Joker was such a phenomenal R-rated $1 billion success. We're going to have a sequel for that because it made money. Once again, going back to kind of like how I think, it's like, I don't know. I just, in a way, it works within the context of the movie, but it's like, we couldn't have set up maybe a different character. I didn't personally need to see another Joker be introduced in this movie. I'm not upset by it necessarily. I was just surprised, and I guess maybe a little concerned about where the direction they're going to be going with this. Because I don't necessarily want right now, say they do a Joker 2 and then a Joker driven Batman movie and it's separate characters, like that's that's pushing overboard, like that, because I would think they would think the same thing. Like, imagine marketing if they came out like nearly around the same time. Like, what the hell? Like people would be confused. And I could go on, but
I was gonna argue that no, they wouldn't, but then I'm like, no, I just had someone question me why there's a new Batman movie, and I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it is getting to a certain point, because they're not. I try to think of it, like exactly. Like, it's not. We talk in kind of a bubble of sorts a lot of the times on the internet, amongst people that care about this stuff and really, really pay attention to the news. But someone that's just a casual fan that wants to go see a Batman movie or a Joker movie is like, wait, what? Like, why is there one here and one here? Why isn't it the same? Which is something I think DC and Warner Bros. Needs to think about as they're going through this. I understand giving the keys to Matt Reeves and creating this universe. if I had my way of it, I would say they should not make a second Joker movie. They should just leave that as a one-off movie as it was supposed to be. Don't even touch it.
Yeah.
Don't do anything with a Joker 2, and then go on with this movie. And I think that's the best solution to all this. Is that how it's going to go? I don't know, because they all want money, and it's all about the bottom line at the end of the day at the studio.
It is AT&T, so
yeah. So I don't know. But we'll see in the future. And to kind of end my thoughts, is like I do love the Joker, and I'm excited to see what happens in this universe, because I do. Within the context of this universe, it makes sense. And I think a Joker with Robert Pattinson's Batman could be fantastic. I think the casting is well done. I think he could have a really, I don't know so far. Off that one scene, I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really see him. You don't really I feel like it'll be even a different incarnation if he actually pops up in a movie fully there too.
Yeah.
But I'm optimistic about his future, I would say.
Okay. So we didn't really see him, which is annoying to me because I always want to know what the look is like. I love a good look.
I mean, it was a tease. It was a post-credit scene. It wasn't a post-credit scene, but it was.
It wasn't, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But on how he looked, it reminded me of Harvey Dent a little bit from Batman and Batman Forever, I think is that one, with Tommy Lee Jones in it.
Yeah, Batman Forever.
And then Batman Forever. It kind of reminded me of that, and it also kind of reminded me of Joker from Arkham Asylum, which when he was all exciting, super fucked up, especially in his look. It was all those three things that I mentioned: Harvey Dent, the brother from the Grinch movie, and whatchamacallit, all rolled into one. So
yeah, from the Grinch movie.
From the Grinch movie, good. Yeah. Are you hilarious. Laggy or am I laggy? I don't know. I think
it'd be a little bit of both.
Okay. Technology. But wrapping it all back in, I thought we got enough to get me excited. He's different, and that's what excites me the most, is that he's different. I can't wait till they paint his face. It is said he has a birth defect that causes him to be permanently smiling, which sounds like a really cool prosthetic. So diving in, Matt Reeves says, what you're really seeing is a pre-Joker Joker. And the idea for me, why I kept that scene in the movie, even though I cut the first scene that I'm describing, which I've not found that scene he's described, is because it was important for me at the end. I actually took the scene that's in the movie still out for a brief time, and we tested it. And I realized that for me, on the one hand, it finishes the Riddler's arc, because what his story plays out, the way his story plays out, and you see him in the wake of what's happened and how Batman has been able to thwart what he was doing. But it was also this idea that in this moment, now that the stranglehold of Falcone has been broken, it means there is a moment of not only hope, but it's also the moment of greatest danger in the city in a long time, because it means that everyone is going to grab for power. And so it changed the movie dramatically. So the scene is not meant to be there to say, oh, here's an Easter egg, the next movie is X. I don't know that the Joker would be in the next movie, but I can tell you that here's what you're seeing. But I can tell you that what you're seeing is an early day version of this character, and trouble, as always, is brewing in Gotham. And he had a lot to say. When Selena Kyle's talking to Batman at the end of the movie, they're having their very poignant goodbye, because they're always going to be on opposite sides of things, of course. She says to him, this place isn't going to change. And when I took the scene out, the stakes of that scene changed, because that scene shows you that when she says that, you've just seen it when you see the Joker and Riddler next to each other. And that's just one example of how Gotham is never going to subside. Trouble in Gotham, is never going to subside. Look at me calling Gotham trouble like that. Boom. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what he said on all of that. And I still can't find the fucking whatchamacallit that he's talking about. The description he said he described.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say, I think that makes sense. Like, why within this, and I say this, I mean it, within the context of the story of the universe, it makes sense. I do also think, Thomas, something else just recently came out. I'm just now looking at actually a story on the direct.com.
Where is that? The direct.com.
So coming to us, this is with an interview with Variety. Matt Reeves said, there's stuff I'm very interested in doing in an Arkham space potentially for HBO Max. There are things we've talked about there, so it's very possible. This is when asked whether how do you say his last name? Keoghan?
Yeah, Keegan
Barry?
is what I just say.
Keegan. Okay.
Yeah.
Will be he was prompted about whether Keegan will be a part of the franchise going forward, and the director said, quote, there is stuff I'm very interested in doing in an Arkham space, potentially for HBO Max. There are things I've talked about there, so it's very possible. It is. It also isn't impossible that there is some story that comes back where Joker comes into our world. Okay. So honestly, based on all these Matt Reeves quotes, it's been pretty candid, and it seems like there is a plan. Well, I think there's ideas, at least it seems like, where the Joker is going to be involved, and it's cool. Honestly, like it makes sense. The business side, like what I think makes sense for Warner Brothers is how they're taking this Batman universe and turning it into these shows like PD and Penguin, which I think was set up well, and Arkham. And say you have an Arkham, show where you like the main face of it is Joker. I think that would perform pretty well on the streaming service. And maybe that leads into maybe a sequel. And I think that's really cool. That's a cool idea for almost like they did with the novelization to prelude the first Batman that we just watched. These TV shows could kind of like connect things between the first Batman and the second Batman, if that's the direction you want to go. But honestly, my focus personally, as Matt Reeves, like what I would want from Matt Reeves to focus on more is just like getting out another Batman movie in the next 5 years. Like that's what I want the Batman 2. I don't want to have to focus on these other little shows, just kind of like give me breadcrumbs as we go along. Like, because this was so much Batman and so just going deep into it. I want to be back in that universe again, which we can be in these shows, but I don't even know if they're like these shows still kind of seem early on in production and ideas and not really like, coming out anytime soon necessarily. It's kind of like, this is just the beginning, I would say, with the Batman for what's probably going to be the Batman's franchise of the 2020s, which is crazy to think, but yeah.
Intriguing. I have different quotes. Shout out, by the way, that article that David just referenced is friend of the show and fellow Rebel Kleinfeld. Kleinfeld, excuse me, my bad. But I have a different one written by Aaron from the direct. And it's quoting, taking a quote from the Toronto Sun by Matt Reeves saying, "We're doing this Penguin series, and one of the great things about that is Colin Farrell. He's like you've never seen him. He's so incredible, and he's a scene stealer. Along the way, we thought maybe we could do his character as a series. So I talked to HBO Max and showed them Colin in the movie and spoke to them about what this could be, and they said, let's do it. So we're doing that, and we're doing this another series that connects to Arkham Asylum. We are talking and thinking about the next movie, but to be honest with you, at the moment, I really want the audience to connect with this, and I really believe they will because I think Rob is an incredible Batman." Sorry, I almost slipped my own words into his quote. That's my bad. I know he's an incredible Batman, but I really loved. So if you look at it, this movie starts, and what you don't realize is there's two villains. This whole fucking story. There's the mob, There's the corruption side of Gotham, and there's the person inciting all of it to come out. Riddler, Carmine Falcone is really who it comes down to. It's ended, and it looks like it's set up as Penguin to make a push to grab that power, honey.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And be the new crime lord, because there's not a lot of other crime lords going on. So beautiful. But in Arkham Asylum, we have the Joker sitting there being really nice to everybody. Like, hey, man, it's all good, man. Just join me. It's cool. I'll be your friend. I'll show you the pathways, man. I think that having a crime cop driven. Oh, we're always trying to take down Penguin's guys, but we can't because, X, Y, and Z. And then you have on the other side of it, the insane situation. So you've got crime, mob vibes you could have with a film or a show. I was thinking that the Gotham show would be Penguin related if Penguin was as good as they were saying. And then they came out with this Penguin show. So who the fuck knows? But the release of the Arkham Asylum thing really does feel like it could. I mean, that's what I'm hoping Batman is in, to be honest.
Yeah, like that's what I was thinking too. It's like, where does Batman show up in this, or is it just there's just a presence of Batman, but it's not actually, there's no Robert Pattinson, which I don't know if I necessarily am like dying for, because I think just a positive of this movie was the outside character, was the supporting cast, but it was how much Batman was in it. It was the Batman, and I think just going in with the right expectations is important.
Oh yeah.
But with Arkham, I think that's where Paul Dano could show back up. You would think 100% that's where he reaches his ugly head, because that's where by the end of the movie, that's where he is. He's not dead, he's not this, he's just in Arkham, which I think is great for like the future of this franchise. I think they did it on purpose. They could do a lot more with that character. He could come back up in a film, in a show. Obviously setting up, and who else is in Arkham, right? That's kind of the big question now. Like, who else is in there?
Yes, sir.
Kind of bored and waiting around. And I think there's definitely going to be some interesting people in there that if there's a show, they would certainly explore.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And I don't know if did you mention what the Gotham show is going to be about?
No, I didn't say. Do you have the description?
I do. It's basically confirmed that it's going to tackle the anatomy of corruption in Gotham City. And it was in an official statement from a service, of course, mentioning a new Batman universe across multiple a new Batman universe across multiple platforms.
Yeah.
It linked that quote actually linked to an article written by none other than David Thompson on December 20th, 2020. How about that? It all comes full circle to world famous journalist Coach David Thompson. David, we didn't really talk that much about Penguin.
No.
So let's just jump to Terry McIver really fast, because he's got a great quote here. He always thought of Penguin as a kind of Al Capone figure, and he's interested to see how they've handled it in the Batman with his fellow Irishman, Colin Farrell. And interesting. He also says really quick, because it's related, that so far in Batman movies, they've had 3 Irishmen as villains. What's up with that? Clearly, you guys know how to play bad guy.
That's
what we're saying. It's why everybody goes to Boston to pick a mob movie, a gangster movie. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, very much loved his take, his Al Capone vibe. Thank you for that. I couldn't figure out who the fuck he reminded me of. This is very much Al Capone. Hey, oh, easy, sweetheart. Ain't you a ray of sunshine? Like just fantastic. Steals everything. World's greatest detectives. Like poking fun at it. Like it's so fucking funny. I did want to. I was like, give me more of this guy. Give me more Selena Kyle. Give me more Gordon. I fucking want a cat. I want a Selena Kyle show. You know what? Give me.
That seems honestly most natural after that movie. One of the most natural shows.
Ooh,
well, I don't know.
So? I would
her going on her kind of her side story, maybe like outside of Gotham.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like as a tie in between. Yes, okay, I love that. I was thinking like, fuck Batman. I don't give a shit about Batman.
No.
Hold on.
No.
Shout out to the first Titans trailer. Fuck Batman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Shout out. What a tie-in.
that was. Yeah.
By the way,
that was kind of iconic at the time.
This Batman, if you watch season 2 and 3 of the Titans, is very much the same Batman mentally as the Bruce Wayne played by. Oh my God, he was from Game of Thrones. I don't even remember.
Really?
The guy who had grayscale, who contracted grayscale, that was in love with Daenerys, but also like raised her and protected her or whatever.
Oh,
that guy.
He's
Batman. Yeah, he plays
really?
Bruce Wayne in that. And we don't see him in the suit. He's Bruce Wayne, and he's fucked up in the head, dude. It's very much like I was watching this, and I'm like, this is the same Gotham City like that they have in Titans. Like, it's the exact same. Nothing good happens in Gotham, basically. So,
right.
Very fucking cool way that they've, interpreted Gotham in the same way and done very different stuff with it so far.
Yeah.
But Penguin, man, would absolutely love a show about Penguin. And I think that at tracking Catwoman, because that's what we were talking about, the Catwoman show, tracking Catwoman, she could go on her little side adventure. I would love that. I would love to see where her journey takes us, because Batman could pop up in every single one of these other shows for like an episode. We need Robert Pattinson for a day to film 3 episodes. Like,
right.
Like that's all it would really take for it to have to feel the same way. But her journey, and like you were saying, they kind of intertwine because they're parallel paths. And if you look at the end of the movie, they're riding on the motorcycles next to each other, parallel. Someone kind of gets in front, someone kind of gets in front, and then they come to the same place and just go separate ways. And it's like, all right. And it zooms out. And then he's like, oh, looking back at her. And that's how they end the movie, by the way. They end the movie with Batman looking at Selena Kyle drive away.
Yeah.
And it just, and it was like, fuck. Like, what a noir vibe. What a detective film from the 40s. But
yeah,
let's rein it all back in, because I think Catwoman is not so much the love interest. She's like lead B. She's the B to Batman's A, if you will. Like right now, I think that's how they should continue going, because that character is amazing.
I imagine she's, planning, or they're planning on her being in Batman too.
Yeah, same. Like, that's why I was like, ooh, a Catwoman show would be great. I want it. And then you're like, I think they would. It seems the most natural. I was like, oh, I figured that she would just show up and Batman would be like, what have you been doing, Selena? And she's like, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And we wouldn't know. But that little bit of this, little bit of that could just reference a whole fucking show. I just want
yeah.
David, how do we want to close out the fucking Batman?
I don't know. It's hard to close out because it's such a long movie and there's so much to it. Well,
I
at
got
the
it.
beginning,
Give me a couple top moments.
Okay.
Give me 2.
Well, I mentioned one earlier, and it was simple. It was just when the Batman revved up, and our crowd kind of cheered, and it was just electric in the building. Like, which is fun because it was such like a slow kind of like going on, like kind of you're into it, but it's not this like it's not this like up and down roller coaster necessarily. It's kind of like you just keep going along this story and you're invested. So that was great. One scene that I was so just like into it was just when Paul Dano's Riddler he's talking to Batman in, that one scene, he's like interrogating him kind of, and he's like, Bruce Wayne, and he keeps saying Bruce Wayne, and you're sitting there, and even from back at the crime scene, like back in like Riddler's apartment, you as the audience member, you're thinking that he knows that Bruce is Batman. And then when it turns out that he's like, oh, like the one we didn't get or something like that, like the one that like, slipped through our fingers. And then he's like saying how you're like, I'm not me without you, Batman. We're in this together. And it's like, oh my gosh. Like, and then you see in Robert Pattinson's face, it's like, he thinks that he knows he's Batman, Bruce Wayne is. And then it's like all of our collective, like, oh, he doesn't. And I was going to be mad about that coming out of the movie if he did know he was Batman. I was like, man, I don't want this. Like, not in the first movie, man. Save that. And then they did. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And that was a great moment, almost like a relief and like a cool little twist. And then my last top moment is a few. It's just, I've said this to everyone I've like talked to the movie about pretty much, is I love how in the movie we go back to the same places over and over. There's the building with the bat signal. There is obviously the club. That's like the biggest one, I would say. And then obviously the Bat Cave as well. The hospital a couple times. I just love the video game feel of this movie in some ways, in the best way possible. Like, not like it's not a video game movie, but it feels like a video game in like the best way possible at times, especially going back when it's Bruce Wayne coming to the club. Stuff like that. I truly think that's what makes this movie really special at times. And those would probably be like some of my top moments. How about you?
I talked about one earlier. It was just the Venom toxin. I really want to see an accurate Bane, and I think they in that one scene did enough to set up a Bane. Like, you don't have to be this super it's like steroids in the moment, but if you're constantly pumped with it, whew. And then ironically, it's kind of from the same scene that you were just talking about, the Paul Dano Riddler sitting in the sitting behind the bar, the glass, if you will, talking to Batman. And it's the line, it's like, the real you is the mask. Whoever you are underneath is just an alter ego. And it's like, hell yeah. Your audio just changed. But I loved that scene, and it's why I really loved the movie, and it's like that's why it's called The Batman, specifically. So wow, 3-hour film. We've talked for about 2 hours and change. David has dropped out of the stream. I'm going to go ahead and say that you can find all of our social medias for Lights Thunder Action here. And it is Lights Thunder Action on Linktree. Lights Thunder Action Show on Facebook, LTA Podcasting on Twitter, at Lights Thunder Action on Instagram, Lights Thunder Action, exclamation point on YouTube. Anyways, sorry about that. There was a fire near our house yesterday, so keeping an ear out for any sirens and stuff. That sounded so much more dramatic than I probably meant it. David, where can everyone find you on social media? David, can you hear me? David Thompson. David Thompson.
I can't. But can you hear me?
Yes, but you're using a faraway mic. Oh my. Well, that is unfortunate. You can find David Thompson on social media while he's getting us his technology fixed back together. At David Thompson on Facebook, at David J. Thompson on Instagram and TikTok, and at David Thompson with 2 A's in the David on Twitter. You can find all of my links at linktree.com/light, Thomas, almost, /TCRochesterACT. That'll get you my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and website, other things. David, are you back? Can you hear me? He can not. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that he has to jump out soon. Can you hear me, David? Not yet. Cool. As always, there could be no show without the Clark Kent doppelganger who just hopped off of your screen, world famous journalist David Thompson, bringing the news and spicy webs, and we're gonna fucking miss him here on the mic at Lights Thunder Action. You'll still get his beautiful ideas.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, your mic is not your Yeti.
It's not going to be the right mic, but I can hear you now. So whatever. We're just going to link to the finish line.
Well, yeah, we got there. I already told them where they can find you on social media.
Thank you.
And I was just saying there'd be no show without you. and now we're gonna not have you, so we'll have to figure out how to do a show without you. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. Crazy future. But David's got big fucking things going, man. Really fast. Thanks, man. I'm so happy you accepted the like, hey man, you want to do a podcast? And you was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, let's go. And that's the genesis of probably every podcast ever. Someone just going, you want to? And it's like, yeah. So thank you for saying yeah. It's been a journey, man. It's been a lot. You've introduced me to so many great people just through this podcast. And I thank you for that. And I can't wait to listen to Box of Cinema Spending every time you drop an episode. We love you here, and I'll still be talking to you all the time.
Yeah.
It's for our LTA. It's for our LTA loyals, you know.
Yeah, no, of course. I really appreciate it too, Thomas. Like, of course, like when we first started it, you asking, us just saying we wanted to do a podcast. Definitely something that we both were been passionate about, and I'm excited for the future for both things and just going forward and what we're going to be doing with Star Wars and me with Cinema Spending, and here with JRB and PCR here at LTA.
Yeah. We're gonna confuse everybody.
This was really fun. Like, I'm glad we were able to do this with the Batman, and I'll be here still. You know, I'll be I'll be back on and stuff like that. Just not, I guess, as like the main host along with you, which is sad. Just in a way because of what all we've done here together. But you know, it's not the end of us two even doing podcasts together, right? Or by any means. And I think it's just exciting for the future. I'm excited for John Ross. I'm excited to hear this podcast without me on it, almost in a way.
You'll probably listen to it now.
Yeah, right. I hate listening to myself.
It's fair. Same.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really exciting time. And this was a really fun way to kind of end this chapter in a lot of ways. And I'm glad we were able to do this, especially because we haven't really had like a show in a while, and there wasn't really like any kind of like ceremonious ending of any means. It was kind of like was kind of just floating out there. So I'm glad we were able to do this, talk about what we're doing, and kind of give everyone a little bit of closure in general.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna cut out we're gonna cut out some of our usual ending because there's no better way to end this. This is Lights Thunder Action. You know, phase 1, I guess. Shout out the OG buddies, right? The Thunder buddies phase, I suppose, whatever we want to call it. We're gonna wrap it up because, buddy, I love you. This has been a fun, amazing time. What a poetic 77, and the Batman, what was supposed to be my 30th birthday, right? And it was Venom, and we watched that together. Then we watched Spider-Man together. Like, we've been talking. It's going to be so much fun to continue to do things. Thor in July. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of the show. And as always, I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
I'm David Thompson.
Thank you for joining episode 77 of Lights, Thunder, Action. We love you 3000.